They said he was finished, washed up, a relic from another era trying to reclaim glory that had already slipped through his aging fingers. When Michael Phelps announced his return from retirement in April 2014, the sports world didn't erupt in celebration. It erupted in doubt. Commentators lined up to deliver their verdict with surgical precision. He is too old, they declared. His body is broken, they insisted. The younger generation has surpassed him, they proclaimed with absolute certainty. At 28 years old when he retired after London 2012, Phelps had seemed content to walk away. But now, at 30, returning to face swimmers who had grown up watching him dominate, who had studied his every stroke, who were 10 years younger with bodies untouched by the cumulative damage of 2 decades of elite competition, the consensus was clear. This comeback would end in humiliation. The critics came armed with evidence. His body had endured injuries that would have ended lesser careers, multiple shoulder surgeries, chronic back pain that required constant management, a body that had logged more pool miles than most swimmers accumulate in 3 lifetimes. Then there was his personal life, splashed across tabloids and sports pages alike. The DUI arrest in September 2014, just months into his comeback attempt. The image of the greatest Olympian of all time in a mugshot, eyes unfocused, face swollen. Commentators seized on it as proof of their narrative. He has lost his way, they said. The discipline that made him unstoppable has crumbled. This is not the Phelps who won 8 golds in Beijing. This is a man searching for purpose in the wrong place, trying to recapture something that exists only in memory. Sports analysts pulled out the statistics like weapons. At the 2015 World Championships in Kazan, Phelps finished 7th in the 100-meter butterfly. 7th. The man who had once owned that event, who had turned it into his personal exhibition, couldn't even reach the podium. Young swimmers like Chad Leclos, the South African who had beaten Phelps in London, openly mocked him. Leclos shadowboxed in front of Phelps in the ready room before their race in Rio, a gesture dripping with disrespect that would have been unthinkable 5 years earlier. The message was unmistakable. You are old news. This is our time now. Social media amplified every stumble, every race where Phelps didn't dominate, every sign that the legend was indeed mortal. Comparisons flooded the narrative. Look at Caleb Dressel, they said, pointing to the young American phenom with explosive power and fresh legs. Look at Adam Peaty, the British breaststroker rewriting record books with the kind of dominance Phelps once displayed. Look at Joseph Schooling from Singapore, a swimmer who had once asked teenage Phelps for an autograph and now stood ready to beat him. The generational shift seemed inevitable, natural, unstoppable. Phelps was swimming against more than competitors. He was swimming against time itself, against biology, against the fundamental truth that athletic careers have expiration dates, and his had long since passed. But what the world didn't see, what the commentators and critics and doubters couldn't measure with their stopwatches and statistics, was what was happening inside Michael Phelps. What nobody understood was that every jeer, every dismissive comment, every prediction of his failure was being collected and stored in a mental vault that had been constructed over 20 years of proving people wrong. The public saw an aging swimmer struggling to regain form. Phelps saw something entirely different. He saw an opportunity to demonstrate what true preparation looks like when combined with a mind that refuses to accept limitations others try to impose. The transformation didn't happen in public view. It happened in the pre-dawn darkness of pools where Phelps trained alone, his coach Bob Bowman watching with the same intensity he had brought since Michael was 11 years old. While critics debated his relevance, Phelps was rebuilding himself from the cellular level up. The training wasn't about recapturing past glory. It was about creating something new entirely. Every stroke was analyzed with technology that hadn't existed during his first Olympic runs. Every turn was refined with biomechanical precision. His body might have been older, but his understanding of swimming had evolved into something approaching scientific art. The mental preparation went deeper than physical training. Phelps worked with a sports psychologist, confronting the demons that had led to that September night and the DUI. He practiced visualization with an intensity that bordered on obsession, swimming entire races in his mind before his body ever touched water. He studied his younger competitors with the cold analysis of a general preparing for war, identifying their strengths not to fear them but to develop strategies that would neutralize every advantage they possessed. When Chad le Clos shadow-boxed in that ready room, when the cameras caught Phelps sitting stone-faced behind him, what the world interpreted as intimidation was actually something far more dangerous. It was absolute focus. It was a mind that had already swum the race 1,000 times and knew exactly how it would end. If you follow the legendary stories of Michael Phelps and want to keep seeing how he turned the impossible into routine, subscribe to the channel. Every video here is proof that greatness isn't an accident, it's built. Rio de Janeiro, 2016. The Olympic Aquatics Stadium, packed with 50,000 spectators who had come to witness history, though many expected it to be the history of Phelps being dethroned. The 200-meter butterfly final. Phelps in lane 4. At 31 years old, he was the oldest swimmer in the field by 5 years. The race began, and immediately the younger legs exploded. Tamas Kenderesi from Hungary, Masato Sakai from Japan, Chad le Clos all surged ahead. At the 100-meter turn, Phelps was in 4th place, his split time slower than his competitors. The announcers noted it with barely concealed satisfaction. The changing of the guard was happening in real time, but at 150 meters, something shifted. Where younger swimmers began to feel the lactate burn overwhelming their muscles, where their stroke rates began to falter under the metabolic assault, Phelps maintained perfect form. His stroke count remained identical to the first 50 meters. His dolphin kicks off the wall generated power that seemed to defy the limitations of a body that had swum more Olympic races than anyone in history. This was the invisible preparation revealing itself. The thousands of hours spent building an aerobic base so profound that his body processed oxygen with efficiency that bordered on superhuman. The mental rehearsal that allowed him to execute technical perfection while his competitors descended into survival mode. The final 50 meters became a demonstration in controlled violence. Phelps accelerated while others merely tried to maintain. Each stroke pulled him past another competitor. The crowd noise reached levels that registered on seismographs outside the venue. He touched the wall in 1:53:36. Not just first place, a time that would have won gold in London 4 years earlier. At an age when most swimmers are coaching or commentating, Phelps had just claimed his 20th Olympic gold medal. The cameras caught Chad le Clos staring at the scoreboard in disbelief, the shadowboxing bravado replaced with the stunned recognition that he had just witnessed something that transcended normal athletic competition. The 200-meter individual medley final 3 days later provided the exclamation point. Joseph Schooling, the young Singaporean who had idolized Phelps as a child, had been predicted to challenge for gold. Kosuke Hagino from Japan was in peak form. Wang Shun from China had been training specifically to beat the American legend. The race unfolded with Phelps demonstrating something the younger swimmers couldn't replicate. Tactical brilliance married to physical preparation. He didn't need to lead from the start. He knew exactly when to apply pressure, exactly how much energy to conserve for each leg of the race. At the butterfly portion, his signature stroke, he built a lead that others simply couldn't close. The final time was 1:54:66, his 4th consecutive Olympic gold in the event, spanning 16 years, 3 different decades of dominance. The 100-meter butterfly provided the most symbolic moment. Phelps, le Clos, and Schooling in adjacent lanes. This was the event where le Clos had beaten him in London, where the disrespect in the ready room had happened. The race came down to hundredths of a second. schooling won gold in 50.39, an Olympic record. Phelps and Leclos tied for silver at 51.14. But the image that defined the moment came at the medal ceremony. Phelps on the podium, arms raised, smiling with genuine joy, not the desperate grasping of someone trying to reclaim faded glory. The satisfied expression of someone who had proven a point far more important than any single race result. By the time Rio ended, Michael Phelps had added 5 golds and 1 silver to his collection. 23 Olympic gold medals total. 28 Olympic medals overall. Numbers so absurd they seem fictional. But the true achievement went beyond counting medals. Phelps had demonstrated something that transcends sport. He had shown that age is not the limitation. Doubt is the limitation. That the human body, when combined with a mind forged through decades of disciplined obsession, can accomplish things that seem biologically impossible. Every commentator who had declared him finished had been forced to recant. Every young swimmer who had assumed his era had passed had been taught a lesson about respecting greatness. The Guinness Book of World Records officially recognized him as the most decorated Olympian in history, the most successful Olympic swimmer ever, the athlete with the most Olympic gold medals in individual events. But these official recognitions merely quantified what everyone who witnessed Rio 2016 already understood. Michael Phelps hadn't just won races. He had won the argument about what is possible when preparation meets opportunity, when mental fortitude refuses to accept the limitations others try to impose, when obsession with excellence becomes the driving force of existence. The final image of Phelps in Rio showed him standing on the podium, looking out at a crowd that had come expecting to witness his decline, and instead had witnessed something approaching athletic mythology. His face carried no vindication, no anger toward those who had doubted. Only the quiet satisfaction of someone who had done exactly what he intended to do from the moment he decided to return. He had proven that greatness isn't an accident of genetics or youth. Greatness is a choice, renewed every single day in pools where nobody is watching, in mental preparations that happen in darkness, in the unwavering belief that what seems impossible is simply what hasn't been achieved yet. If this story of overcoming all expectations moved you, leave a like and subscribe, because Phelps's legacy teaches us that limits exist only until someone decides to cross them, and that someone could be you.